not.
It's okay.
Not.
So we're going to just go ahead and move to, questions and discussions. For those joining over Zoom, you can, raise that little hand, please, or type your questions in the chat. And for us in the room, we have those mics. So anyone has question either for Mariam or for Yaka, say?
I have a question.
Okay.
So actually, I'll give you the.
I think that
Oh, right, I need the
microphone. People, joining us here can hear you. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, so I know that that academia has been terrible about ignoring Muslim women and their important role. And I agree that even today we don't often center women like this, but there has been a counter narrative in the last, I would say, 2 decades, where academics, especially Muslim women, have started writing more and more about the important role Muslim women have played. I mean, Dr. Riham talked about some of those women, that the important role that they've played, Hadith scholars and and especially the Sufis.
Yes.
And a lot of it is biographical and maybe not centered in the way you're saying, but I'm just wondering how your work intersects with those kind of newer studies.
Okay. I need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, one
Oh,
over
okay.
here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So what I really love is the anthropology of religion. And you are absolutely right in anthropological circles and at American Academy of Religion, which is a huge conference that's global. I feel like, wow, they have been busting it out the last few years with people we didn't know, we're not familiar with. And likewise, overlapping with anthropology of religion, that there's a lot of women who are being highlighted. And so whatever our understanding of whatever Islamic studies was, or even religious studies, which I feel like is always couched in medieval studies or medieval times. And it's just like, but it's so much more expansive. And it's an exciting time to discover or uncover this hidden information. And I also am about, especially right now, doing archival strategy. Because while people are alive, what are we documenting? Are we speaking to aunties and uncles and their parents and their kids? Because that's a whole different, and them, whoever we're focusing on, that's really different when we get firsthand information to put in archives and also archival artifacts. This is what they wore. This is the Quran that they used, and digitizing it and making it accessible for everyone globally. I'm very excited about archival strategies.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Who has someone has question for you? If not, I have one. Yeah. One question for you, and good. Okay. Thank you so much. That was really amazing. Thank you. So
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there she. Oh, Sadia, are you ready for your presentation?
Yes, I'm ready. We have network
Okay.
problem.
Okay, I will say,
Let's pause.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and present, please, before we lose you again.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. So I'm here to present a topic titled Theological Contributions of Muslim Female Preachers in Africa. So let me start with the abstracts. The abstract says, The paper examines the growing influence and theological contributions of Muslim women preachers in various African contexts. Traditionally, public religions interpretation and preaching within Muslim societies have been largely male-dominated. However, increased literacy, greater access to advanced Islamic education, particularly since 1980s, and the expansion of contemporary piety movements have created new spaces for women to engage critically within Islamic sacred texts and public religious discourse. The study investigates how Muslim female preachers articulate their theological perspectives and undertake scriptural interpretation, often questioning or reinterpreting patriarchal readings of the Islamic tradition. It argues that the intellectual and theological work of African Muslim women preachers forms an important part of the broader global development of contemporary Muslim theology. Their engagements contribute to renewed
Yeah.
So actually, we cannot see you or see your presentation.
I don't think she has slides.
Do you have slides or not?
But I don't think she has slides. Honestly, the slides when.
Yes, now we can see you.
Okay, now we can see.
And
okay.
do,
So
do
the study
you?
investigates
Yeah.
how Muslim female preachers articulate their theological perspectives and undertake scriptural interpretation, often questioning or reinterpreting patriarchal readings of the Islamic tradition. It argues that the intellectual and theological work of African Muslim women preachers forms an important part of the broader global development of contemporary Muslim theology. Their engagements contribute to renewed ethical and interpretive reflection on Islamic teachings, offering forward-looking perspective while remaining grounded in classical Islamic sources and established in interpretive methodologies. Through this effort, Muslim female preachers expand the scope of religious discussions and activism within their communities. Their work provides an important counter-narrative to rigid or exclusionary interpretations and enables women of faith to participate more actively in shaping religious knowledge, particularly in relation to questions of gender and social justice. Methodologically, the research employs a qualitative approach complemented where appropriate by quantitative data. The findings indicate that scriptural interpretations and public teachings of Muslim female preachers have fostered greater gender inclusively, empowered women within religious spaces, and introduced interpretive perspectives that emphasize social justice and gender equity. These contributions have also supported broader social reforms, helped bridge cultural gaps, strengthen communal and religious identities, and challenging norms, ultimately contributing to a more inclusive and socially engaged practical of Islam across the continent. So because of the network problem, let me just list some modern female preachers in our contemporary Africa. So we have Sadia Sheikh in South Africa, an associate professor in the Department of the Study of Religions at the University of Cape.
Yeah. What do you think? Just take questions. Yeah, just take questions because we have less than 30. She can join us. So Sadia, unfortunately, we lost you again. We're just going to go ahead with questions and discussion. And if you're able to join us, I guess you can take, whatever question we have for you. You can take it. So I think I will open the floor, but do I need to, let me minimize this, right? Yes, Okay, I have a question for Dr. Yakase, and I have one question for, I guess, each of you, or maybe just put everything together. I really, Mariam, your presentation is fascinating. Sheikha Mariama, I think the only female scholar maybe we can compare her work with is Nana Asma'u. We know a lot about Nana Asma'u, but at the same time, there's also a lot that we don't know. So fortunately, we have more coverage of Sheikha Mariama's, legacy and intellectual contribution in terms of, teaching and mentoring and counseling women. So I guess my question to both you and Dr. Yakase is whether or not what I presented earlier, like my argument for my paper, will apply to, to Sheikha Mariama, your subject, and, whether that will also apply to Malama Mariami Tafsiri. So these are two very influential women that clearly have agency and contributed a lot to, Islamic intellectual tradition, worked, at the very grassroots level in terms of, educating children, in terms of educating women, in terms of educating men as well. And again, as you have mentioned, this is not an innovation, in Islamic history. Like women's educational contribution or intellectual contribution is not something that started with modernity, right? It's not something that started with, Western feminism. That is very much established. We always go back to Aisha and, Nana Aisha radiallahu anha, and Dr. Reham has mentioned that, we go back to her, we go back to... We're sorry, Sadia, because there, we just moved to the discussion and we wanted to just give you your question and you can answer it, right? Because we don't have, we have only 30 minutes left. So you can stay, please, and join the conversation if you don't mind. Or what do you think? What do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, okay. So, just not to take a lot of time, but still I'm trying to explain, my
I'm
question,
listening.
I guess. So it's whether or not to you, Mariam, and to Dr. Yakase, if, again, my earlier argument in terms of, the authority is there, but do you think in any way the authority is constrained? In terms, so we have their contribution to education, right? To educating the Ummah. But on the other hand, in terms of like, huh? You want to go first? Yeah, okay. Okay, go ahead. Oh.
Well, okay.
Yeah, Kase, are you going to go first, or we have Sheikha Mariam, the other Sheikha Mariam?
Yes.
Okay,
Anyway.
I guess, yeah, you can go. So, okay. Okay, you can go ahead, please.
Okay.
And I don't know if you are able to
okay. I
hear
will
my
first of all
question.
beg your pardon. Yes. Yes. I understand your question.
Okay,
And
good.
firstly, I would like to apologize because I'm having technical glitches with my camera. I've been trying to see that I open it, but I don't know what is happening. But I will speak at the background.
We
if you
hear
don't
you
mind.
very well. We hear the audio, so don't worry about the video. You can go ahead.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Well,
if you haven't heard my
Well, the
question,
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you be specific?
Okay, so
Can you be specific?
yes, so my argument when I presented my paper was that it's clear that Muslim women have agency. It's clear that Muslim women have authority. We have that established in the literature. But part of my argument is that that authority is, at least in the context of northern Nigeria, it's there, but it is constrained. And, you know, even when you were presenting on Malama Mariam Tafsiri, and you mentioned that when she married, I believe that was her third husband in 1958, and she asked him to teach her, you know, the knowledge of tafsir, and he hesitated for a while because she's a woman, right? I think that's what you said. And then thinking about that, and you know,
Yes.
yeah, okay, and then you know, so the moment that Malama Mariam Tafsir started, that was more than a century, you know, after Nana Asma Udanfodio's, you know, intellectual, you know, the entire. So again, you know, looking at, you know, what Nana Asma did, and even after 100 years, that conversation of whether or not, you know, a woman should be taught, you know, the sciences of tafsir, I think, you know, that demands some, you know, we need to like, you know, pause and rethink it. Like, why do we still have that question, even though we go back to, you know, as early as Nana Aisha, and then in the West African context, we have Nana Asma'u. Why is it in the 1950s that there was a discussion on whether or not, you know, Maryam Tafsir should be taught the knowledge of tafsir? So again, connecting to my argument in my paper, do you see, you know, do you see any kind of constraint in terms of what you know, female preachers are able to do in terms of like the topics they are able to discuss? Is there any limitation in your understanding? I just want someone to challenge my argument. You know, I want someone to challenge me to say, no, you are, you know, you're mistaken. You know, you got it all wrong. You know, that's, I guess. Okay, you can go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Malama Rahina. Yes, I will agree with you that the female agency and authority within the Islamic religious space in Hausaland is restricted to a certain extent. But I will disagree with you that the restriction is only on females, you know, because when you look at the Islamic intellectual tradition in Kano, for example, where I come from, the scholar, you know, Islamic scholar, it is his prerogative to select or to choose for his student the text that he is going to study with him. Even when you come to him and ask him to, you know, to teach you a certain text, he will ask questions, you know, to see that whether you have that background knowledge, you know, of what is what you are supposed to learn before, you know, delving into the text of your choice. You see, the curriculum is, you know, the framework of the curriculum, Islamic intellectual tradition in Hausaland is such a, you know, that it has been, you know, selectively arranged from the starter, you know, to someone who has, I mean, to the middle, and then to the expertise. Like I have said in the paper, you know, the basic texts that every Muslim needs to learn were the Ahlari, the Ashmawi. You need to firstly start with Ashmawi, and then you go to Ahlari, and then Izziya, and the Risala, and the Mukhtasar, and then, you know, and then. And then it is after you learned all this, then you delve into the learning the Arabic language, the sarf, as they call it, the nahawu, and so on and so forth. So these are the basic knowledge that one needs to learn and to master before delving into the knowledge of tafsir. Not only the female, scholar. And back to restoration on female. Now, when you look at the trajectory, the intellectual trajectory or the socialization, intellectual socialization of Maria Tafsiri and all other female scholars of, let's say, from the 1970s downward, not upward, downward. Most, I can say all of the female scholars that emerged in Hausaland from the time of Nana Asmau to the 1960s or 1970s, they all came from the religiously, the Islamic intellectual traditionally background. You either find that their parents are scholars, astute scholars, or their grandparents and so on and so forth. Hardly you can see, someone, just a people, of a commoner, someone whose parents are not knowledgeable, become a knowledgeable, scholar. If you could remember, as coming from northern Nigeria, I'm sure you know that the female is, given out to marriage at the age of 12, 13. And in those days, parents would just say, okay, let her, just learn the Nakarat and Salah. That is the minimum requirement, that she needs to know to perform prayer. Once she acquires that, and then she will be given out to marriage. I don't know whether you read Baba of Karo. When she was complaining, Baba of Karo, she said that we were reduced into, Islamic knowledge is for the boys, and house chores is for us. So that's why we are not able to be educated. And when you also look at the society, as I said, it is, it's a patriarch society. The female was accorded a minimal, very, very minimum, or no responsibility in the public space. And this Alana Houston argues that restricted women from having social mobility. So the restriction is there to a certain degree, but from the 1980s there was a revolution, with regard to Islamic intellectual socialization of the females. Because in Kano, for example, a school for an Arabic school, an all-female Arabic school was established in 1978. And girls were sent there. It is a boarding school. It still exists. And then another one was established at Torah, and so many places. So many female, who came from the non-scholarly background were able to get to acquire Islamic education. The example of Malama Zahrau, I cannot remember who mentioned her in his presentation. Malama Zahrau, she's not from scholarly background. She was from a modern elite, family background. She went to St. Louis. She was to go to St. Louis Secondary School, but she chose to go to Women Arabic Teachers College that was established in 1978. And she rose, through the stages of Islamic intellectual learning and became what she is today, to the extent that she was even appointed Commissioner for Women Affairs. So in a way, I cannot dispute that there is a restriction, and even the space. When Binyamin was doing his presentation, he discussed the debate surrounding the tafsir session of Zainab, the daughter of Sheikh Ja'far Mahmoud Adam. Well, I didn't follow the conversation, but from his presentation, I think the debate that came up, as a result of her tafsir session was because she presented the tafsir in the mosque. I think that was if I understand what he said, it comes as a result of the delivery of the tafsir in mosque, which many people feel that it is wrong. But when we go back to Maryam tafsiri, when people heard her voice on the airwaves delivering tafsir, she didn't, suffered from that, from condemnation. She was praised by the traditional religious establishment, by the government, and by the people, because it was an innovation. It had never happened, and people were impressed that here is a woman today delivering a tafsir over the radio. So when Benjamin, was discussing about that debate over Zainab's tafsir session, I was asking myself, I think I need to conduct a research to see why Maryam tafsiri did not attract, condemnation when she presented tafsir on the radio, innovative as it was. And then why was Zainab, attracted condemnation? I think we need to look at the category of people who are condemning female scholars, the intimidation which the female scholars are subjected to due to the emergence of social media, because the social media, there is no restriction. Everybody can say anything, most of the people that are condemning female scholars, they are not scholars, they are not knowledgeable. They don't even know, the religion itself. So it is not the established scholars. And I'm sure, I don't think there is, Zainab had attracted condemnation from the established scholars in Kano. I don't think, but even though I said that I didn't follow the conversation, yes, I didn't. So I don't know, but I know of what happened, but I didn't follow it to know exactly what happened. So I think, to a degree, to answer your question, your work can be situated within the restriction, because even Maryam tafsiri, suffered from certain restoration. Not only that, you see, when her husband asked the consent of her father, he didn't hesitate to approve of it. He approved of it because the system entails that you have to ask your superior in knowledge before you move into other things. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Maybe you go. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. You did.
May
Yeah,
I
thank you
quickly-
very much.
May I
Yeah.
quickly answer?
Yeah, we will move to, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So your question about is Sheikha Mariama's authority constrained? Not in this circumstance. She has many students. She was very popular. And what I want to say is she has students who were youthful and young. And I'm not just talking about the average 7 or 8-year-old who goes to Quran school. I'm talking about you're 20, you're 30, and you're 40. What are you doing up in here? Kind of students. And they loved her and still love her and still consider her popular. And they were very loyal. And her son, Professor Osman Khan, has inherited the Quran school and is trying to expand, bring back rigor. But I do want to mention two things. I want to mention her sister, Mama Chota, Sayyida Al Khair Nias, because again, like this person was stellar. I don't know if it's because they are, God knows, the Sheikh Ibrahim Nias's daughters, they were both stellar and popular, and Mama Chota is still alive, still was a political figure, made sure to teach women about farming, about negotiating Islam. I just two very stellar Muslim women. And I also want to say something about outside influences. So just like Muslims were influenced over the years, Muslim scholars were influenced by the Israeliyat, which are the documents from, you can say, Christian/Jewish or Judeo-Christian documents that are about old religion. There are some influences that, okay, we believe it or we don't believe it, but we listen to it. But some of this is influential in what we think in Islam. And so, for instance, when I was doing a comparative study about aura and voice with Judaism, there is something called teflut. And so teflut is tantamount to lewdness to teach your daughter Torah. And I was like, what? This is Torah. Like, that's like Torah. But who wants to teach their daughter to be lewd? No one. So they're not taught because of this influence. And so I think that there are other influences that have crept in that are cultural, that either our neighbors or this Judeo-Christian influence that we don't hearken it back to where it really came from, that we need to pay attention to those things. Because when we go back and we say, well, the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam didn't do, yes, I know, so where'd you get it from? And earlier we were talking about what's the difference between culture versus Islam, but when your culture is Islam, there is no difference. And most of us will tell you we're practicing authentic Islam. So whether you're a Muslim from China or you're a Muslim from Russia or you're a Muslim from America, it's all authentic and it all looks different.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. I have I was thinking probably Sheikha Mariama will. Oh, you have something to add, Madam Dr.
Dr.
Yakas?
Rahim.
Yeah, you
Yes,
have.
I don't know whether you have 2 minutes. I don't know whether you have 2 minutes for a rider to what I have said. Just a single point.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you have 2 minutes.
Just a single point. Yeah.
Mhm.
You see, in 19 just to add to the point that the established scholarship authority, did not put any restriction on women that prove the capability to deliver, intellectually. In 1973, there was a committee that was established, to censure preaching, Islamic preaching against polemic preaching. And Maria Metafsiri was the only female that was evaluated, by that committee. And all the members of the committee, including the Emir of Kano, they approved of her, and they were satisfied that she can deliver tafsir, and she was issued a certificate to go ahead with tafsir. Likewise, in 1985, another, committee was established. That time, we had another female scholar, Hassan Asupi, along with Maria Metafsiri. It was because of time constraint that I didn't, show you on the slide the certificates that were issued to her.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Yakase. Actually, my question was, to round up, it was more on, so I know you know more about Kano, of course, than I do, because, I wasn't raised in Kano. So do you think there is any kind of a constraint in terms of the topics and the themes? So what if, again, as, we discuss with many women, and from your experience too, one of the things troubling Hausa Muslim women is, the issue of polygyny, which we discussed in, at length earlier during the break. So do you think ever, for instance, Malama Zainab Jafar will, start, I don't know, preaching against men putting their wives in one house? What do you think the response will be?
You see, she will definitely, be, let me say, attacked, as much as I mean, she's not the one. If she said so, I will tell you that she is not the only. I mean, she's not the first. There are male scholars who have been saying that, and they were being attacked by the people. So if Malama Zainab said so, she will definitely be attacked,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Sheikh Daura for it. So what I was trying to say is...
Yes, you see, Kanu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. And yeah, we need to...
You see, that is something a term I coined, the Kanu mind, in my PhD thesis. And the Kanu mind is a conglomeration of ideas, which constitute traditions that Kanu, the Islamic intellectual tradition established upon. Kanu is strictly in those, some 40 years ago, Kanu was strictly a Sufi, environment. But 40 years back to today, Kanu is, there is this interplay, between Sufi tradition and Salafi tradition in the name of Izala. So it depends on what side of what side one scholar, belongs to. What you said, the tariqa one belongs to, would determine the acceptance of his fatwa, to the tariqa adherence. So also the Izala adherence. So I think there is no single, tradition that is at play now in Kano, except, in the courts. In the courts, Kano is operating, is strictly Maliki, but in the study circles, it depends on where the scholar belongs to.
Okay, Dr.
So
Yakase,
really,
thank you.
when Zainab said that.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Please join us tomorrow for we can continue the conversation tomorrow.
Inshallah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone that, was here or is still here in person. And thanks to the people that joined us over Zoom. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for our 3 other panels, and have a good evening. Yeah.
Thank you.